You're probably wondering, why should I invest in real estate? Or is investing in real estate a good option? I'm going to tell you this, it is a great option. I'm going to give you 3 tips that are going to help you want to become a real estate investor, because getting in the right mindset is everything. Not everything is easy. Not everything's going to be all roses and unicorns. But if you're in the right mindset, you aren't going to expect roses and unicorns. The best tip I could tell you into why you should invest into real estate is depreciation. Now, I always heard about depreciation, but I wasn't sure how it worked and if it was even true. Now, if you are a real estate investor, depreciation is your best friend. If you have a primary residency, a single family home, you don't have that option. So what that means is when you buy a multi-family unit, where there is 2 properties in one, so a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex, you can take advantage of depreciation. If you have a single family home, just a standard 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, you cannot write off depreciation. You can only do that with a multi-unit. Now, when you're like, what is depreciation, Nick? Like, is this a key, a buzzword? I go, no. What it is, it's a certain dollar amount that you're able to write off every single year on your taxes. It's an offset. So for example, let's just say you have to do the roof. You got to add an air conditioner to the unit. That's all stuff that you can write off on taxes. If you're $100,000 a year earner, you take off $25,000 off of that income just on depreciation. Anything that you make on your property goes to depreciation. And it doesn't affect your income. So if you're trying to invest in another property, that $25,000 isn't deducted from your primary income. So if you make $100,000 after taxes, then you get $25,000 depreciation. On paper, when you're trying to qualify for a loan, you still make $100,000. Now, if you're a self-employed person and you make $100,000, but you have $30,000 in expenses, you are only taking home $70,000 versus $70,000 versus $100,000 when you're trying to qualify for a loan. That's a big difference. So with depreciation, it doesn't affect you. If you have a single family home, it doesn't happen. Like, you just don't have it. Now, if it's a single family home that you rent, then that's completely different. So real estate investing and buying your home are 2 different things. I always find it very interesting when people say, oh, my house is my investment. Robert Kiyosaki said, an investment is something that makes you money. Unfortunately, your single family home that you purchase or that you live in is not making you any money. It is not an investment. It could be an inheritance for your child or your kids or someone else, but for you personally, it's not making you any money. So that is not an investment. So depreciation is going to be probably my biggest reason why I'm going to tell you, you got to get into real estate. Number 2, long term, you never lose. Donald Trump said, if you get into real estate and you do it for the long term, you always win. Now, if you're trying to get into real estate to reconstruct it and flip it, you don't always win. Like, there's going to be some, like, you're in the middle of the remodel and you find, bad plumbing, and that bad plumbing rotten the foundation. It just turns into a headache. At some point, some people, when they're doing the flips, they're barely breaking even. But if you do things for the long term and take advantage of depreciation, and then your rent is being covered or the mortgage is being covered by your tenants, baby, let me tell you, it's a wonderful thing. So if you do it for the long haul, you're always going to win. Just on the tax write-offs alone, it's going to win. So That was my number 2 reason to want to get into real estate. You always win as long as you're in for the long haul. Number 3 reason why I think that you should get into real estate investing is for the passive income. Now, a lot of people like to use the word passive income. That's something that's money is going to keep coming in without having any work. That's a fairy tale. There's still work that needs to be done when it comes to real estate investing. But it is really nice to have additional income coming in with not really having to think that much. Now, if you buy a real estate investment and it's a 20 to 30 year loan and you buy it in your 30s or your 40s, by the time you retire, the mortgage will be paid off. So whatever you collect in rent, that's money now that you can live off of. And that money could be, used for, your current mortgage. It can be used when you retire out of the country. You can use that money for whatever you want. But it's really nice to have that money when you're retired. Because when you're older, you don't have the energy that you have when you're in your 20s, your 30s, or your 40s. You're starting to slow down a little bit. And if you don't plan ahead and accordingly, retirement comes at you really fast. And aside from me getting into real estate investing, I'm also a health insurance broker. And I have seen people come to retirement almost with deer in the headlights, where they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know because I didn't file any taxes, it affected my Social Security. It does. I know people who've come to the end of the parade and they're gonna retire and they're thinking they're gonna get a certain dollar amount, but little do they know, because they were only claiming $20,000 to $30,000 in their taxes for the last 20 years. They're only gonna get like $900 a month from Social Security. $900 a month doesn't even cover my Costco bill for the month. So with real estate, you'll be able to, create generational wealth with your property. Now, there's a ton of other stuff that we're gonna go over, like creating a living trust and learning how to deal with tenants and dealing with property management companies and dealing with contractors and dealing with vendors and dealing with neighbors. Yeah, I just said that. Dealing with your neighbor, that gets annoying. You have to share a fence line. There's all kinds of stuff when it comes to real estate. But at least you have these 3 things why I think you should get into real estate, to get you in the right mindset. Because if you're in the right mindset, when you run into trouble, you're not going to feel so stressed out or so obligated and you're going to quit. Because the goal is to stay in the game for the long term, to not quit, and to get it done. Because believe me, you're going to be thankful. When I first got into real estate investing, I was nervous and I was scared and I was questioning everything. I was like, did I make the right decision? Should I have done this? Should I have done that? It's nerve-wracking. It was new to me. I didn't know a lot of stuff, even though I'm in the industry on a different side of it. And I gutted it out. I stuck my head down and I just worked. I figured things out. I solved problems and I dealt with it. And thank goodness that I did it, because just from the first year and a half, I'm like, oh, this is going to get really fun in like 5 to 10 years. And if you get into it, you're going to thank yourself later. Your family's going to thank you. Your kids are going to thank you. You'll thank yourself when you are relaxing somewhere, enjoying your life, because you're like, oh, thank God I took these risks when I was young enough and had the energy to do it, because life is really good now. So let's do this. I'm here to help you and share my journey, and that way you can learn and not make the same mistakes. You'll probably make them. You're going to make some mistakes. Trust me. When you make the mistake, especially when it costs you money, you really remember them. So I don't want to tell you hey, don't make any mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. But if you like this type of information, want to follow along and see what I go through and how you can learn to be a better real estate investor or to get the courage to do it, then make sure to follow the other videos. That way you're prepared, you're in the right mindset, and you set yourself up for the future.